So I was saying that I do represent DuPont here today. I'm the information technology responsible for DuPont in Spain and Portugal. DuPont is a company probably very well known in Asturias. It's not a company that uses the brand DuPont a lot. However, has a lot of different brands and a lot of different materials that you guys probably use every day, even though you don't know it belongs to DuPont. So what I want to do today is to very briefly say some words about my company and say about a low-hanging fruit challenge. I wanted to propose a challenge. I wouldn't say easy to implement, but affordable and something that we might consider a quick win, something that we can do. Okay, so and of course related with the Industry 4.0. So what's DuPont? DuPont is one of the most successful science and engineering companies in the world. We are a science company. We are a 200-old company. This is pretty much about what DuPont is. Working in different areas, from chemicals to pharma to crop protection, electronics, a lot of different sections along the history of DuPont has been our source of action. Our approach is apply the science to global challenges. So every time, every year, every decade, every century, there are challenges. And those challenges are the object of DuPont. DuPont moves from one to other and tries to help people to live better by accomplishing, managing successful stories on each one of these challenges by using the science. Okay, so DuPont is a science company. What do we want to do? A site company with an extraordinary range of materials, as I'm saying, biological science, engineering capabilities, and corresponding breadth of products, and engineering to meet the global challenges. That's our approach. We have a lot of different products, a lot of different sections, divisions, etc. These are just some examples of some of them. It's pretty small, but since I was able to change connection, I can make it bigger. From bio-based materials to photovoltaic metallization based on Teflon films, insect control, crop protection, Cytel, Hytrail. Maybe some of you know these products. Some of them are very specialized, but you can be sure that they're very much used all around the world. And hybrids, Optimum, insect protection, I said before, crop protection, etc. So there are a huge sort of solution that DuPont provides. So what do we do here in Asturias? Well, in Spain, this is a map of DuPont. We have the main facility in Asturias with several plants. The Nomex plant, probably you know what's the Nomex, that's protective apparel and industrial protection material that's unique against the fire and dielectric. You know that we have also a plant of crop protection, and we also have a service center here, internal service center with almost 500 people working for internal processes from our site, from Asturias to the whole world. This means that we have a really heterogeneous and disparate source of different functions of our company here in Asturias. And in general, we work on very different and disparate, as I'm saying, areas. So this is an opportunity for the Industry 4.0. Other sites in Spain, we have Barcelona, the very recent one of Tarragona, right after the merchant spin, and recently as announced for DuPont with Dow Chemical. We have a research facility in Tarragona, in Valencia, Madrid, Sevilla, Lisboa also, so that we have a good map of different facilities here, very, very heterogeneous. So we are responsible here for implementing the corporate programs, the change management for a lot of different initiatives affecting different plants, different research plants, research laboratories, and service centers, which is a completely different challenge and in a very different environment. So, speaking a little bit about DuPont in Spain and particularly in Asturias, maybe some of you did visit sometime the DuPont site in Asturias. I don't know if you can see it very well there. We have the Nomex plant, the Sontar Nomex here, the first plant made in Asturias when it was founded in 92. The Global Service Center, this very big building here with the 500 people I mentioned before, of their cars there. The crop protection plant, and the ICL production plant, which is an ingredient for the Nomex. We have only one of the two only Nomex plants in the world by DuPont, and the Nomex, as you know, is a DuPont product. So our Industry 4.0 approach, that is the reason why we are here today. The approach is we need it. We want it, we need it, we understand it, and we think it's useful, and we want to implement it. In fact, we are working on that for a very long time. We are not initiating now. We want to pursue a vision, a model of Industry 4.0. Interoperability, information transparency, technical assistance, and decentralized decision-making systems. Those are our paradigms, and we try every day to move forward to this area. In our science in Spain, we have several areas of opportunity because, as I'm saying, we have manufacturing plants, we have service centers, we have processes integration, and we have, as the fellow before mentioned, a lot of challenge for integration. We have a lot of different systems, a lot of different applications, a lot of different machines to connect all together to go forward to the Industry 4.0 paradigm and the full connectivity in order to manage those cyber-physical systems. So we have worked significantly in different flavors, I would say, in different areas of this so big word, which is the Industry 4.0, cognitive robotization. We have worked a lot, and we have interesting successes in cognitive robotization, connectivity along the different factories, big data and machine learning, and different initiatives. We still foresee opportunities in Internet of Things, especially in the capture layer. And this is what our challenge is about. This is my last slide, and this is the challenge. It's the challenge itself. I wanted, it's very small, so I don't think you can see it, but fortunately I was able to connect this. I can go along the explanation with you guys, and of course I'll be open to questions later. So the summary is that our manufacturing and services site in Spain demands for wider monitoring, analysis, and prediction capabilities. This means collecting data. This means the so much used word, big data. We need to collect data from everywhere. Collecting data is, as those who tried before of you know, is the most difficult part of the analysis of the data. Collecting everything, connecting the different machines, connecting the different devices, the different processes, connecting the ERP with the MES, connecting everything is the most difficult thing. So the paradigm of Internet of Things gets a barrier there, because it's not that easy to connect everything, because there are so many processes, so many machines, so many devices, so many human actions that are not digitalized yet. So they are not digital. So what can we do? Use an Excel spreadsheet? What can we do? A small application from a local vendor that can pick that data, and then what? We have a new island of data. Okay. So what do we do? What's our focus? We want to collect all data together, and this requires a short-term action to have some kind of universal data capture platform, something that allows us in interim way, I would say, to capture data from all those places where those devices, processes, people, actions, whatever, is not yet digital. It's not yet implemented digitally. And let's be realistic. It's not possible to ensure that the full digital company, especially with the complexity of our environment, is manageable, is achievable short term. So what do we want to do? We want to do some kind of platform to capture data. Okay. What do we want those data for? For analyzing, monitoring, dealing with the data, predicting, doing whatever with the data. It's not in the scope of this challenge to use the data, just to capture them, at least this year. This year we are capturing the data. Maybe next year we can ask for a challenge for helping in analyzing it. Okay. So, as I'm saying, we need a solution to quickly start collecting, and it must be open, flexible. We use the word consumerized. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this word. So we want something easy, a regular smartphone. This platform should work in any of the smartphones you guys have in your pocket now. and it must be using a regular app, downloadable from iOS Apple Store or from Google Store. Okay, so that we want something which is a commodity, something that uses the paradigm of consumerization, something easy to implement. We don't want a barrier with the hardware. So we want something that can be reading any kind of signal from everywhere easily with a regular smartphone and with a regular app you can download easily. So the challenge, the phrase describing the challenge, the phrase describing the challenge. A universal system to easily capture events related with non-digital processes and dump them real-time to our data warehouse for further analysis. That's what we want. And we have some restrictions, some premises, and some suggestions to implement this. What kind of events do we want to manage here? Anything you can imagine. Almost any non-digital event can be read by this platform as we are imagining it. For example, person, vehicle, instructor, operator, doing geolocalization, identifying, carrying, containing, validating, rejecting, approving, denying, a vehicle plate, a personal ID, physical goods assigned with codes, letters, and maybe optionally attaching a picture, distinguishing behavior. So we want something that reads everything and keeps it, sends it real time, encrypted end-to-end to our environment, uses a single sign-on in order to identify the person who is doing that, so that for the event happening right now, right here, wherever it happens, it sends a message geolocalizing, identifying the person doing it, single log on, sorry. Of course, taking note of the time when it happened, and as I said, the place where it happened. So we have a sort of information we can use in order to process that later for transactional purposes or for informational purposes. So we want the information of what's going on. So what must this thing capture? Anything. This platform, this app, should be able to act as a reader of QR codes. QR, you know, the square typical QR codes, barcodes, RFID, the tags, the small RFID tags using NFC technology, attaching optionally pre-classification by the person who is reading that, saying yes or no if configured that way, and attaching optionally a picture, a small video, or a small audio, so that we can get a piece of information all together, send it to our environment, encrypt it in advance, of course, and put it in our database so that we can analyze what's going on and classify and determine what's going on there and why that person at that moment in that place read that QR. Okay, so it's an universal, it's a multi-purpose reader. Some premises or some requisites or requirements of this. Public downloadable app. So we want something easy to download. We don't want a proprietary software or something like that. We want something that I can just tell our employees, our partners, our whoever, hey, go to your store in your iOS or Android store, download it for free, and let's and just log in. Okay. Compatibility. This app should read at least QR, barcodes, RFID tags using NFC for appropriate smartphones, and even typography, applying the OCR, optical character recognition, so that you can read just a regular plate with some letters, and the system discovers what is written there and makes a pre-validation to make sure that it's what it is looking for, or at least send that information to our system. Single sign-on, so that integrated with the way we log on in our company. So we don't want new access requirements or new different areas of authentication. It should have a back office, a web back office, to get there and see what the tags are, define them, and configure them, and see in a map what's going on everywhere real time. Okay, so that at the end, the unit we are working for is a tag. The tag is something I define, and I specify, I as administrator, specify how it behaves, if it requires a picture, an audio, and a video. What's the code, the tag code, in case it is RFID or QR or whatever, and what it means. Okay, so that the tag is defined in our systems in the back office, and the reader just detects the tag and geolocates it and identifies the person reading it and adds the time, the picture, or whatever is defined to. So there is a back office web application to deal with this. Other important thing, the tax cost must be negligible. So the cost must be non-significant. So easy and cheap tax, not the special things, not proprietary stuff, not things that are expensive, because we are thinking in using this for sub-product purposes, for any other things that probably will require very, very inexpensive tax, whatever the technology it uses. Of course, a QR is inexpensive because it's just a printing, and RFID might be not that negligible. We know it's cheap, but just a requirement. And also, we want the people doing this challenge include the administration or the supply of these tags. We don't want to buy tags or to replace them or to deal with the life cycle of the tags or the technology to use in the client side. About data, content to get. All tags are by default geolocated, authenticated, time and device ID, as I'm saying, can be reclassified, pre-classified if defined that way. All personal data must be anonymized, even personal or even farther than personal, anonymized and encrypted end-to-end. And it must get to our system. That requires some kind of platform integration into our Office 365 multi-tenant environment. I don't think it's difficult. In fact, I know it's easy for a company having the right resources, and that's our requirement. We want it in our system. Okay. Maybe this is one of the big differences of this platform in comparison with a regular reader. You can say, okay, I have a reader, it can read QRs, I can do whatever you are saying, I can do it. But I will add, okay, please, put it in my system, encrypt it, identify under my own identification system. So it's a kind of customization of a regular app is capable to read. Reader can use existing marks or labels. For example, I'm seeing here a computer with a label here. Why not to read this? I can configure a tag, which is this tag, and if it's a typography, I can apply OCR and see what's there, and maybe to compare the same way when you go to a parking lot and the machine, that camera reads your plate, a matricula of the vehicle, and know what number it is, knows what number it is or is similar to, and then when you get in and get out, the system very easily identifies you are the person in the car because of the plate. Okay, so the plate is not a tag supplied by the system, it's your own plate. Same thing with any kind of letter, mark, sign, or whatever is everywhere, so that we can use real things instead of re-tagging the world. Midterm, and this is an optional premium functionality, would be some kind of image recognition. We are talking about some images very clearly can allow us to detect differences, movements, colors, or whatever. It's not something in the short term, but it would be good that this reader is also prepared so that when you read something, you can also read maybe a landscape and detect it is day or night, for example, or if a sign is green or red. Okay, so that we want to connect the real world, the non-digital world, with our digital environment for data analysis. About data analysis, the post-processing retrieved data is not included in the challenge. That's something we are also working on, and as I'm saying, probably in the next year, but right now let's focus only in capturing very well all data. And of course, we use business intelligence, structured multi-dimensional database with different dimensions, measures, etc. And we are working on machine learning. So think that this challenge is not just for capturing data only for transactional purposes. It's for transactional purposes, for monitoring things, but also for long-term analysis and prediction, etc. With this kind of system, we are thinking that we might, for example, control the access to a room by people, just letting them have a RFID card, the regular one you use to cross the gate. It can be easy to detect by the instructor, for example, myself, open an instruction process or instruction session and detect who is here by just tagging, or maybe yourself tagging. It's useful also for machines, for connecting anything on machine, or for example for opening a ticket. When you have an issue with a printer and the printer has a QR code or something on it, maybe any kind of tag of multi-technology, multi-source technology, you can just open the ticket requesting assistance by clicking there, and maybe if that tag is configured so you can pre-classify and say, okay, in this case you just have to say that it's a problem with the toner or a problem with the paper supply or with whatever other else issue with the printer. So we can apply this to a lot of different real-world physical, non-digital processes, and that's our approach and our vision. So it took me short time. I'm on time, more or less. And this is our challenge, just to see the full picture. Why? The description of the challenge. Some events that combined drive us to the necessity of this thing. And here, the requirements. And here, a very naive picture of what we want. The factory, the different kind of multi-source tags. Now are these ones, maybe in the future it'll be invented other thing. This reader wants also to capture that data, those kind of data. Geolocating, QR, barcode, OCR, RFID, picture, audio, video. And then, this is the thing we want. Moving to our data environment, to our data warehouse, and finally we'll analyze, monitor, acting transactionally, or detect or predict based on those data. And this is a challenge. Thanks for your attention, and I'm open to questions, so whatever you want to remark.
Any question for Eloy? Eloy, if you agree, we can upload your presentation into the website in order to consult, because there's so many information that probably for the applicants it will be useful. Yeah, okay. You agree with
Sure.
Okay.
It's the same I sent. Yeah.
So the presentation will be uploaded in the website, but you have now Eloy here. So please ask any question. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Hi. Thank you very much for your presentation. Do you think in the future, when this universal app is running, this might be used in your company to control how people relate with each other in terms of relationships and things like that?
Sure. Yes, of course, that's one of the potential functionalities we are thinking of. In fact, it's one of the main ones, speaking of the short term, because we can think all of our employees working in all of our sites in the world have an RFID card. So it's easy for us to just using their own smartphones or smartphones in the areas in the company or wherever to read, for example, the attendance to a meeting, the attendance to a class, to a training, the lack of attendance, even for safety or organizational purposes, excluding the pure emergency and safety serious protocols that probably in the short term can be used with this. But in general, for managing people, it's a very good thing that we can use in the short term.
And how do you plan to explain to your employees if this is going to be something that will help them doing their job, and not an intrusion in how they, I mean, because I have this specific question with some colleagues in human resources companies, and every time I explain this idea, they always said, no, we don't want to go that, or we might think that it might be a bit tricky to explain. How can I tell them that, hey, this is going to be good for you, do it?
It is a very good question, and of course it's a challenge also to explain that, because dealing with people is completely different to dealing with machines. In principle, we are committing ourselves to anonymize all data, so we only use codes. That's a very important thing. Second thing is we don't want to add new pieces of information to what we already have. For example, any employee now in our company, worldwide, as I'm saying, when enters through a gate, is identified because it has a personal RFID. So, but I agree that we have to be very careful with this, and maybe in some areas where this is especially difficult or delicate, we should be cautious about the first level of implementation. So we have to go step by step on this. But basically what we want to do is not that much to identify people or to categorize people, but to identify events. So if you are going to a machine and you are replacing a toner, it's not maybe the best example, and you are technical doing that, all what I want is you just identify that you did the work. All what I want is you open the notification, so that, for example, in SAP, you mentioned SAP before, the request for a maintenance action is called a notification. So opening a notification in SAP takes some time. You have to go into a form, open it, select, doing some process. By using this system, you just click with your own telephone, because it can very easily open a notification based on the place where you are reading, and what you are reading, and who you are. Since I have all that information, I don't need to ask you for anything else. So maybe the approach to convince people to use this is how friendly it becomes some of the actions that right now are more complex and take longer for them. Avoiding personal data management, because we don't want to get into that battle. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Okay, thank you very much, Eloy. I'm Raúl from WeTech, and I have a question about the platform. So there's a web platform to identify the tags, there's the tags, and there's the app for the user. Is there another one? Because you want to use not only the tags that are provided in the challenge, but you want to use also other things. So you will need another app to identify tags that are not provided by the challenge.
Oh, well, yeah.
You say, take a picture of something and then associate it to the platform. So you need another app or something.
Yeah, no. Basically, the components are pretty easy. Are just an app. It's a regular reader. As many ones you can freely download. But special for us in terms that it connects to our system, it identifies and authenticates our users, and that's the main difference. So that what this reader does is just read any QR, mine or from anybody else, any RFID code with a standard configuration, so that I don't care what's behind that code. I will deal with what is behind the code when defining the tag in the back office. So the components are an app and the back office web application. You can imagine like a map pointing where it's clicking everything, and for each tag you can define a short configuration so that I can link that to my own processes, because I have a lot of transactional processes implemented in the background, and I want to connect those tags with those processes. That's not part of the challenge. The challenge is just to make a huge, beautiful, fancy reader.
You want to do that in the app, so I was worried about this one. And the other thing, which is another fun one, is you want to use the NFC cards of the employees. This is normally encrypted, so you can't read it with your.
I know.
Because normally there's some security that if it's not encrypted, you can clone it.
It's true.
And can enter the
It's true. They are encrypted, and not all smartphones, the highest level smartphones, do not contain NFC. This is a possibility. I mean, our employees have encrypted RFIDs. However, we are using also other open non-encrypted RFIDs for other purposes within our plans. Inside our plans, for example, for confirming some things. And what we are doing now is to give this small key holder and go there and with a fixed reader, read what's going on and then approving in the name of the one owning that thing. So we want to change that in order to make it more consumerized, so that they can use if they want their telephone, or at least maybe the same device they are using now, but if they want with a regular smartphone. But I know that maybe the initial implementation, except for specific areas, will not be with NFC, because NFC is not so open for everybody. And I said that I know all of you guys have smartphones, but not all of you guys have NFC in them. So as you can see, this is very open. This is a kind of general purpose universal viewer. So right after that, once we have it, logging into our system, encrypting and sending to our systems, and allowing us to define those tags, we'll think about useful purposes, quick wins for this, or low-hanging fruits, maybe related with people being cautious, or maybe related with RFID being cautious, well, knowing that our RFID is encrypted. Thank you.